For more than 2 centuries, Oak Island has whispered its mysteries through hidden tunnels, ancient traps, and layers of buried history. Countless treasure hunters have come and gone, chasing answers they never found. But now, something extraordinary has finally come to light. Rick Lagina, known for being calm, precise, and never one to exaggerate, has just confirmed the discovery of a $15 million underground treasure fortress buried deep beneath the island. And that isn't all. The gold concealed within this structure has officially been located. Let that sink in. This isn't speculation or myth. This is the breakthrough people have been waiting generations to witness. As Rick and the team pushed deeper into the old caverns below the money pit, odd echoes, carved stone formations, and unmistakable metallic signatures began revealing a story far older and far richer than anything ever uncovered before. What they found wasn't just treasure. It was an entire subterranean stronghold, a fortified chamber engineered to safeguard something of immense value. And this is where the real journey begins. Before we dive deeper into this astonishing revelation, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the clues, twists, and truths behind Oak Island's most significant discovery yet. The mystery took shape on an otherwise quiet morning, when the first hint of something remarkable reached Rick Ness. It wasn't through equipment or satellite imaging, but through a fisherman's whispered account. He claimed that after a minor ground collapse near the historic money pit, he saw a shimmer under the soil, something bright and curved, like sunlight reflecting off sculpted gold. The area had long been considered unstable and dangerous, but the detail in the fisherman's description was too exact to dismiss. Within 48 hours, Ness had assembled a small exploration crew and performed an initial scan using ground-penetrating radar. The readings were unlike anything recorded there since the early 2000s. Dense metallic clusters arranged in geometric patterns nearly 92 feet below the surface, far too precise to be natural. Early assessments suggested a structure about 28 feet wide, what experts would soon call the treasure citadel. Once excavation began, it quickly became clear that the ground was resisting them. Timber from centuries past, compacted clay, and flooding shafts forced the team to rebuild the dig site repeatedly, slowing progress by nearly 40%. Pumps battled constant groundwater, and twice the drilling rigs were shut down due to collapsing tunnel edges. Every inch gained had to be reinforced with steel cages and sensor-guided supports. No sudden moves, no blind drilling, everything handled with near reverence. Still, Ness pushed on. By day 19, after finally breaking through the last composite barrier, the borehole cameras captured something unbelievable. Carved stone plates fitted together with gold-lined supports, architecture deliberately designed to guard something massive. When they expanded the shaft to lower the main probe, the readings spiked. The chamber was packed with metallic mass totaling more than 4,000 kilograms, with an estimated value of almost $120 million. But the most astonishing revelation was this. The treasure wasn't scattered. It was centralized, fortified, intentionally constructed, a hidden citadel preserved beneath centuries of earth, built with the precision of a forgotten secret. And just as the team absorbed their first glimpse into this forbidden chamber, the island seemed to respond. Deep groans echoed through the ground. Timbers cracked. Stone shifted, as if warning Ness that inside this labyrinth of history, every step demanded a price, drawing him closer to the truth buried deep beneath Oak Island. From the moment Rick Ness sank the first shovel into the ground, Oak Island reacted. The earth didn't merely move, it answered. Echoes rolled through the tunnels below, and the upper soil sagged in slow, uneasy waves, as though the island itself recognized that its ancient secret was finally being disturbed. Within the first 36 hours of work, Ness's team uncovered a layered landscape unlike anything previously recorded on Oak Island. Strata of sand, clay, and decayed timber were stacked like pages from a long-forgotten record. Around 11 feet down, they discovered carved stone fragments marked with crosses, spirals, and angled lines, symbols strikingly similar to those historically associated with medieval Templar groups. Nearby, they uncovered ceremonial tools, hand scrapers, chisels, and even a metal stamp, all preserved inside hardened clay. Early carbon dating placed their origins between 1250 and 1490 CE, centuries before the first British maps ever mentioned Oak Island. But with each answer, a new challenge emerged. By the 8th day, the excavators struck a tough barrier, a dense layer of sediment fused tightly with oak beams. These beams formed what appeared to be the remains of an engineered platform nearly 14 feet across, likely part of a defensive mechanism. Sensors also detected hollow pockets beneath it, unstable voids that could collapse under minimal pressure. Ness immediately stopped all heavy equipment and shifted to careful, manual excavation, removing soil inch by inch. This slowed progress by more than half, but it prevented a devastating cave-in. On the 13th day, their seismic instruments picked up a deep, rumbling vibration, an underground shift. The team evacuated just in time. Moments later, a section of the north shaft dropped over 4 inches, exposing a hidden support chamber. Once that chamber was stabilized, it revealed their most significant clue yet: a carved stone archway, pointing toward what their mapping software identified as a reinforced vault nearly 87 feet below. Ness recalibrated the operation with new drilling angles, reinforced scaffolding, and controlled suction systems. He established a descent route strong enough to withstand the island's unpredictable shifts. This path led directly toward the core of the underground complex, the heart of the treasure citadel itself. Metallic readings spiked on day 21, indicating massive concentrations weighing between 4,000 and 5,200 kilograms. Density comparisons and thermal scans confirmed what the team suspected. Only a heavily fortified chamber could hold material of that nature. Analysts agreed the chamber below was almost certainly the vault containing the estimated $120 million treasure, the very prize Ness had pursued since the first whisper of gold reached him. But as they removed the final beam blocking their path, revealing a narrow passage descending into darkness, the ground trembled again. Dust drifted from above, and subtle vibrations ran through the chamber walls, as if the island itself were warning them that the road ahead would test every skill, every calculation, and every ounce of resolve they had. Ness didn't hesitate. Stabilizing his lantern, he drew a steady breath and stepped towards the mouth of the newly exposed passage, knowing that deeper secrets waited below. When he broke through the last layer of reinforced clay, a hollow echo rose from the depths, not the sound of an empty cavity, but of architecture, of deliberate construction. What lay beneath was not a natural cavern. It was a structure carved by hands that understood engineering far beyond their era. As the first support beams were lowered, Ness's lantern revealed the entrance, a narrow stone throat leading into a maze of interlocking tunnels. This marked the beginning of the labyrinth, the final defense protecting the $120 million treasure citadel. The descent officially began on day 24. The team mapped out a network of corridors stretching nearly 62 meters, arranged with astonishing geometric precision. Their analytical models showed that the layout followed a spiral fortress design commonly used in medieval fortifications. It was a layout crafted with intention, to confuse intruders, slow them down, and shield the vault at the center of the complex. Inside the labyrinth, conditions became brutally unforgiving. Water levels rose and fell without warning, increasing as much as 18 centimeters overnight due to underground tidal pressure. The air carried a sharp metallic taste, evidence of low oxygen pockets, forcing Ness to install controlled ventilation systems. Every step became a calculated risk. A single mistake could trigger a collapse within the unstable tunnels. Twice, their sensors detected tiny shifts in the overhead stone beams, and both times the team evacuated immediately. Minutes later, the ceilings in those passages gave way, proving just how precise their timing needed to be. By day 28, the flicker of torchlight revealed carvings etched into the walls, crossed blades, sunbursts, and spiraling symbols. These markings matched fragments the team had found in the upper layers, confirming that the same mysterious builders responsible for the earlier structures had constructed the labyrinth as well. The symbols hinted at secrecy bound by oath, suggesting the treasure hidden inside was more than wealth. It was something sacred. As they moved deeper, Ness encountered tight, partially flooded chambers only about 1.4 meters high. The team was forced to crawl through icy water up to their chests, relying on thermal imaging to locate warm air pockets that might lead toward chambers where stronger metallic mass readings were detected. The closer they came to the center, the more intense the atmosphere grew. Ness described it as a subtle vibration, not a sound, but a sensation, like an ancient heartbeat pulsing through the stone. On day 32, they reached a crucial intersection. 3 corridors converging like the arteries of a living being. Only one showed signs of preserved reinforcement. Its oak braces, astonishingly intact after centuries, suggested it was built to protect something important. Ness chose that path. Seismic scans ahead signaled a spike in density, more than 5,000 kilograms of metallic material concentrated in a single chamber. The team tightened their harnesses, reinforced the walls with steel plates, and moved forward carefully. Then the labyrinth's character shifted. The air warmed, and the stonework became smoother, as if they were nearing the center of something monumental. Ness placed his hand on the final archway and felt a faint tremor from the other side, history itself waiting to be uncovered. But the island wasn't finished testing them. The moment he stepped through, the atmosphere shifted again, as though warning that one final barrier stood between them and the truth buried below. By day 33, Rick, Ness, and his crew had ventured deeper into the underground than any documented expedition before them. The narrowing passage formed a stone arch that guided them toward what sensors predicted was the final chamber. Metallic readings held steady above 5,200 kilograms, and thermal scans suggested a hollow space nearly 11.6 meters wide. The perfect dimensions for a vaulted stronghold designed to house the $120 million treasure they'd been chasing. But Oak Island had one more challenge left. As they advanced, the ground trembled beneath their feet. At first, it was faint, like the island taking a breath. Then came the crack, a sharp fracture ripping across the ceiling stones with a noise like breaking bone. Dust poured down as their pressure gauges spiked into the danger zone, warning of an imminent collapse. Within seconds, the chamber behind them began to buckle. Ness shouted orders, his voice nearly drowned out by grinding stone. The team rushed to wedge old oak timbers against the failing ceiling, timbers later confirmed by carbon dating to be nearly 240 years old, likely remnants of early treasure hunters. The supports bought them only seconds, maybe minutes. Oxygen levels dropped by 17% as the corridor filled with dust, shrinking visibility to barely an arm's length. Every movement had to be deliberate. One misstep could bring the entire labyrinth down on them. By day 34, after reinforcing the area with steel plates and hydraulic jacks, they returned to the collapse zone. The air still trembled, reminding them that the island's final secret was close, but not yet surrendered. The walls began to emit soft cracking sounds, ancient stones straining under immense pressure. Their seismic scanner soon revealed the truth. The collapse wasn't accidental. The stress points had been deliberately engineered to fail. It was a centuries-old defense system, a trap designed to seal intruders inside forever. But Ness refused to turn back. Using precision drills and microsaws, the team carved a narrow bypass tunnel only 0.9 meters wide, reinforcing it with aluminum braces every 60 centimeters. Their pace slowed to less than a third of normal, and each hour felt like a hard-won victory. Yet the deeper they pushed toward the central vault, the more the island resisted. Stone groaned, timbers bent, dust drifted down in soft clouds, like the breath of a sleeping giant. By day 36, they broke through the final barrier. As they stepped out of the bypass into a larger chamber, the atmosphere shifted. The air had warmed by nearly 4 degrees, a sign of dense metallic mass-absorbing heat. Their floodlights illuminated smooth stone walls, crafted with the same meticulous precision, seen deeper in the labyrinth. This was architecture built not to welcome, but to protect. A faint metallic glimmer flickered from the far end of the room. So subtle it might have been a trick of the light, but Ness recognized it instantly. He raised his lantern and advanced, feeling that familiar vibration in his chest, the sense of something extraordinary waiting beyond reach. The collapse had been a warning, not a deterrent. The island was testing them, guarding a secret far greater than simple treasure. Ness felt that truth radiating from the stone around him. On day 37, as Ness and his team pushed through the last stone choke point, the passage suddenly widened. The change began with the air, warm, steady currents rising from below, carrying the faint scent of iron, clay, and something ancient. Lantern lights stretched farther than before, reflecting off polished surfaces no one expected to see in a place untouched for centuries. Then, with a single careful step, the chamber revealed itself. Silence fell across the team. The room was immense, nearly 12 meters long and 9 meters high. Its form reminiscent of an ancient cathedral. Smooth granite walls arched upward, covered in carvings of sunbursts, shields, and swirling symbols that seemed to shimmer as light passed over them. The craftsmanship alone was proof of a highly skilled civilization, one whose presence on Oak Island had never been recorded. And at the center of this grand chamber stood the treasure citadel. It rose from the stone floor like a colossal sarcophagus, reinforced with layers of gold leaf, iron bands, and armor-plated stone. Every surface was adorned with detail. Figures poised for battle, ceremonial markings, and circular designs representing celestial cycles. The structure stretched more than 4 meters in length. Around its base lay carefully arranged offerings, shards of pottery, silver pieces, and carved relics with inscriptions still sharply defined. As Ness approached, the metallic readings on their scanners surged. More than 5,200 kilograms of dense material were concentrated inside the vault. Analysts would later estimate the treasure's value at nearly $120 million, but Ness barely registered that number. What mattered to him was the confirmation of everything he had pursued. The symbols, the whispers, the traces of a hidden order safeguarding something sacred. He placed his hand on the citadel. The gold was warm, not from equipment or lights, but from centuries of sealed metallic mass radiating stored heat. That warmth traveled through his fingers, slowing his breath, letting the exhaustion and triumph of the dig wash over him. For the first time, Ness felt the entire timeline collapse into one moment. The years 1250, 1620, 1795, all converging on this point, on day 37 beneath his hand. The team worked with surgical precision, no drills, no abrupt cuts, only fine blades, micro saws, and vibration-free tools. Every few minutes, Ness ordered a full stop to check for pressure shifts, ensuring nothing disturbed the delicate balance of the ancient chamber. They documented every stage of the operation, recording 143 detailed structural measurements to ensure that nothing they did would compromise the chamber. By day 39, the first protective panel finally loosened. When it was lifted away, a dull metallic clang echoed through the vault, revealing rows of gold ingots neatly stacked and sealed with wax-emblazoned markings. Beneath them were ceremonial artifacts, chalices, engraved plates, and a war helm crowned with a golden crest. Deeper still lay relics wrapped in hardened leather that crumbled at the touch, exposing brittle parchment beneath. The truth was no longer hidden, but the chamber wasn't finished revealing its secrets. As Ness turned towards the far wall, a faint glimmer caught his eye, a reflection from something buried deeper than the treasure citadel itself, something embedded in the furthest corner of the vault, suggesting that what they had uncovered was merely the beginning of a much older mystery preparing to surface. For Rick Ness, the final stretch of Oak Island's mining zone, nicknamed the Citadel Line, had already consumed 4 relentless weeks of excavation, nearly 260 machine hours, and over 120 tons of earth had been removed. Every inch had to be carved out with precision. One wrong vibration could collapse the narrow stone passages, protecting whatever the Templar engineers had concealed centuries ago. Despite flooded pockets, equipment failures, and soil shifts that forced 3 emergency evacuations, Ness continued forward. The readings were too strong to ignore. Something enormous, dense, and unmistakably metallic was waiting below. By day 32, the air within the trench grew noticeably colder. Sensors confirmed a cavern just 10 meters beyond the final timber support. At that point, progress slowed to hand tools and brushes. No machinery, no unnecessary force. And then, with a soft crumble of earth, the chamber finally revealed itself. A hollow breath drifted through the tunnel as if the island itself exhaled. After centuries of silence, light spilled across gold. The team stood frozen. At the center of the cavern rested the treasure Citadel, an armored reliquary layered in gold leaf, stone plating, and engraved warnings left by an ancient order. Calculations would later confirm that its contents, ingots, ritual artifacts, sealed vault trays, were worth nearly $120 million. A sum so immense it rewrote the scale of Oak Island's treasure legends. Rick Lagina approached slowly, documenting every detail. Chamber volume, 42 cubic meters. Temperature drop, 7 degrees. A spike in humidity, proof that the chamber had remained sealed and untouched since the 1300s. He brushed away a line of dust with a trembling hand. History didn't whisper here. It thundered. He radioed the surface team, his voice shaking from a mixture of disbelief and awe. And then he spoke the words no explorer had ever imagined hearing on Oak Island. "We found it. The treasure, the Citadel, the entire cache, it's real." Floodlights bathed the chamber in warm, flickering light that danced across relics which had survived storms, empires, and centuries of burial. In that glow, legend transformed into fact. Items once thought mythical were now being measured, weighed, photographed, and catalogued. For the first time, humanity could align folklore with reality. But as the dust settled over their impossible discovery, the team noticed something unsettling. The chamber's design, the angles of the walls, the arrangement of symbols, the carved instructions, all pointed to another structure hidden deeper below a second system. A second purpose, something far larger than a vault of gold. The story, it seemed, was only beginning to awaken.